Welcome to our deep dive, and today we're going to be looking at an excerpt from Richard Feynman's 1955 speech on the value of science.
Yeah.
And, Feynman was a pretty brilliant physicist,
Oh, absolutely.
but also really interesting because he was such a captivating communicator.
Yeah, he had a really engaging way of explaining things, even really complex ideas.
Yeah, and this speech is a great example of that.
Yeah.
It's not really about equations or, specific scientific experiments or anything like that.
Right.
It's really about why science matters.
Uh-huh.
And I think you'll find it's still pretty relevant today.
Well, for sure. Even more so, I think, today.
Yeah, right from the beginning, he makes this statement about the greatest value of science being the freedom to doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And that really kind of struck me because, in a lot of areas of life, doubt is seen as like a weakness or a negative thing.
Right. You're not supposed to doubt.
Yeah, but Feynman's really like flipping the script on that, isn't he?
He is. He's saying doubt is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's presenting it as like a strength, as the engine of progress.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The ability to question, to challenge even things that we really believe in, to be open to the possibility that we might be wrong.
Uh-huh.
That's how we learn and grow.
Yeah, and that's how science advances.
Exactly.
But it's not even just limited to science, is it?
Right.
I mean, how often in our everyday lives do we just accept things without really questioning them?
All the time, probably more than we realize.
Yeah, Feynman is really encouraging us to cultivate this healthy skepticism, this, freedom to doubt,
Yeah.
which could actually be a real strength in any area of life.
Definitely. And that actually connects to something he brings up later about education.
Oh, yeah.
He says that, a scientifically literate public isn't just about memorizing facts.
Right.
It's about having the tools to think for yourself,
Right.
to evaluate information, and to come to your own conclusions.
So it's really about empowering people to be informed citizens, not just blindly accepting whatever they're told.
Exactly. And that goes back to the idea of doubt being essential for a healthy democracy.
Oh, wow.
Feynman saw a direct link between scientific inquiry and the ability of citizens to question authority.
Yeah.
Which is really important to safeguard against tyranny and to promote progress.
That's a really powerful connection.
It is.
So it sounds like this freedom to doubt isn't just some abstract concept.
Well,
It
yeah.
has these really real-world implications for individuals and for society.
Exactly. And it's not about just being, contrary or skeptical for its own sake.
Right.
Feynman was very passionate about science.
Yeah.
And he saw this freedom to doubt as like essential for uncovering the truth.
Uh-huh. Which brings us to another part of his argument that I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
He goes beyond just the practical benefits of
Yeah,
science, like,
yeah.
technology, medicine, all that stuff.
Sure, all the things that make our lives better.
Yeah. And he talks about something much more fundamental.
Deeper.
Yeah, the wonder of it all.
Yes, he talks about this sense of awe and mystery that, that we find when we really start to look at the universe, even in the simplest things.
He paints this really amazing picture of the universe, filled with these mysteries waiting to be unlocked.
Mm,
And he uses such vivid imagery,
he does.
like that little paramecium swimming in a drop of water.
Right, completely oblivious to the vastness of the universe around it.
Right. And then there's the fact that the atoms that make up our own bodies
Yeah,
are constantly changing.
it's mind-blowing.
I mean, we are literally not the same person we were a moment ago.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's really incredible.
Yeah, and it just shows that the universe is not static.
Right.
It's this dynamic, ever-changing thing.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes it so
Yeah,
fascinating.
absolutely. The more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
Yeah, I love that idea.
It's like every answer just leads to more questions.
Right, and the deeper we dive into science,
Yeah.
the more of these incredible mysteries are revealed.
And the more our curiosity is sparked.
Yeah, which kind of brings us to Feynman's analogy of science to poetry.
Okay.
He argues that understanding the scientific principles behind something
Mm-hmm.
doesn't actually diminish its beauty.
Right.
It can actually enhance it.
Yeah, I like that.
He uses the example of looking at a flower
Mm-hmm.
so we can appreciate its beauty, just on a surface level.
Sure, just by looking at it.
But if we know about photosynthesis and pollination and evolution,
Yeah, all those intricate processes.
all those things that make that flower what it is,
Right.
it actually makes our appreciation even deeper. Wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like you're seeing more than just the surface.
Yeah.
You're understanding the miracle of life itself.
Yeah, it's like when you hear a piece of music you love and then you learn about the composer
Right.
and their life and what inspired them.
And how they wrote it.
Yeah, it doesn't ruin the experience. It just adds more depth.
Exactly. It enriches it.
And that's what Feynman is saying about science.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about reducing the world to just equations.
It's about uncovering the beauty and complexity that's all around us.
That might otherwise go unnoticed.
Right, but Feynman also acknowledges that there's this darker side to scientific progress, doesn't he?
He does. He definitely doesn't shy away from that.
He reminds us that this knowledge is powerful.
Yes. And like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Yeah, he talks about unforeseen consequences.
Yeah.
Even potentially deliberate harm.
Right. It's a sobering thought.
It is. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And he says that it's not just a responsibility for scientists either.
Oh, it's on all of us.
Yeah. He says that an informed citizenry is crucial for making sure that scientific advancements are used ethically.
Absolutely. We can't just leave these decisions to the experts.
Right.
We all need to be engaged in these conversations.
So it sounds like we need to kind of cultivate this sense of scientific citizenship.
I like that term.
Yeah, we're not just passive consumers of progress, but active participants in shaping its direction.
Exactly.
That's a big challenge. It is, but it's also a really exciting opportunity.
It is, and it makes me think about, we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
But it feels like we've only just scratched the surface of Feynman's ideas.
That's true. He was so full of insights.
Yeah, this one speech could keep us talking for hours.
Easily, but I think even these initial points that we've touched on offer a really valuable framework for understanding not just the value of science, but also its potential to shape our understanding of the world and ourselves.
Absolutely. And it makes me think about, one of the things that really struck me.
Look at that. How he uses those really vivid examples to kind of drive home his points.
Like when he talks about that experiment where they tracked those phosphorus atoms.
Oh, right. The rat brain experiment?
Yeah, in a rat's brain.
It's pretty wild.
And after a few weeks, almost all of the original atoms were replaced.
Yeah, like completely gone and new ones had taken their place.
It's like we're not even the same person we were a few weeks ago.
On a very literal level.
Right.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is.
And it just shows you how dynamic the universe really is.
And how powerful scientific inquiry can be.
Exactly.
To uncover these truths that we would never know otherwise.
Like, what other secrets are hidden right there in front of us?
Yeah.
Just waiting for science to reveal them.
And it makes you realize that science isn't just about these cold, hard facts.
Right.
It's about cultivating this sense of awe and appreciation.
Like for the intricate workings of the universe.
Right. And he really challenges this perception.
Yeah.
That scientific understanding somehow diminishes beauty. He actually argues the opposite. Remember that analogy with the flower?
Oh, yeah, the flower.
Yeah, he says that understanding how photosynthesis works
and pollination
and all these intricate processes doesn't take away from the flower's beauty.
Right.
It actually adds to it. It's like when you see a magic trick and you know how it's done.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any less amazing.
Right. You might even appreciate it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you understand the skill and the artistry.
That went into creating that illusion.
Yeah. And that's what Feynman is suggesting about science.
I see what you mean.
It's not about reducing the world to equations. It's about revealing the beauty and complexity.
That's already there.
That we might not even notice otherwise.
Yeah, it's like seeing the world with new eyes.
Right. But he also reminds us that this knowledge can be a double-edged sword.
Oh, absolutely. He doesn't shy away from the potential dangers.
Yeah. He talks about unintended consequences, even the possibility of deliberate harm.
It's a sobering thought.
And he uses that analogy of the Buddhist parable.
Oh, yeah, the key to heaven.
Yeah, the key to heaven also unlocks the gates of hell.
Powerful image.
It really is, and it highlights that scientific knowledge is inherently neutral.
Right. It's just a tool.
Like a scalpel.
Okay, yeah.
In the hands of a skilled surgeon.
Yeah.
It can save lives.
Right.
But it can also cause harm.
It all depends on the intention of the person using it.
Exactly, and that's where Feynman's emphasis on responsibility comes in.
Makes sense.
It's not enough to just make these discoveries.
No, we have to think carefully about how they're used.
And who might be affected.
Yeah, both positively and negatively.
Right, and that's why he stresses the importance of an informed citizenry.
Absolutely. We can't just leave these decisions to scientists and policymakers.
It's up to all of us to engage in these conversations.
To be informed about the science.
And to think critically about its implications.
And to make our voices heard.
He's calling for public engagement, open dialogue about the potential benefits and risks of these scientific advancements.
It's not just about understanding the science itself.
It's about having a say in how it's used.
And shaping the future we want to create.
Which brings us to another interesting point he makes.
Yeah.
about how the arts haven't really captured the beauty of science.
He seems a little disappointed by that.
Yeah, like he wishes artists and poets and musicians could do more to convey the wonders he sees in the natural world.
It's like he's saying, I can describe the mechanics of it all.
Right.
But I need help showing people how beautiful it really is.
I wonder if we've made any progress on that front.
It's a good question.
Are there new ways we're expressing the wonder of science through art?
Maybe through music or literature?
I think that's what Feynman was getting at.
What do you mean?
Science is deeply connected to the human experience.
It is.
And finding ways to express that connection.
Yeah.
To share that sense of wonder that's so important for fostering a society that values science.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to education.
Yeah, which Feynman saw is absolutely fundamental.
He really believed in the power of education.
To create a scientifically literate society.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes beyond just advocating for science education in schools.
Right. He talks about cultivating a certain mindset.
Yeah, a scientific spirit.
That can be applied to all aspects of life.
He emphasizes critical thinking skills.
Being able to question assumptions.
To evaluate evidence.
And to form your own conclusions.
Based on reason and logic.
Not just blindly accepting what you're told.
Which is so important in today's world.
Where we're bombarded with information from all sides.
So much of it is misleading or just plain wrong.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to believe sometimes.
And that's where Feynman's emphasis on critical thinking becomes so crucial.
It's like a superpower.
It really is. It helps us navigate this complex information landscape.
To separate fact from fiction.
To make informed decisions.
But to not be fooled.
It's about being skeptical.
Yeah, questioning everything.
Even our own beliefs.
But not in a cynical way,
Right.
more like with a sense of curiosity.
And a desire to understand.
Deeper.
And that ties back to his idea of the freedom to doubt being the most valuable aspect of science.
It's not just about scientific progress.
It's a way of engaging with the world.
A mindset that helps us navigate complexity.
And make better decisions.
He believed that this scientific spirit
this commitment to reason and evidence
was essential for the progress of society.
It allows us to challenge the status quo.
To push boundaries.
And to create a better future.
And it's not just about becoming scientists ourselves.
Right. It's about appreciating the scientific method.
Asking questions.
Testing hypotheses.
Refining our understanding based on evidence.
It's about fostering a culture that values curiosity.
The intellectual honesty.
The pursuit of truth.
Wherever it may lead.
You know, it's really amazing how Feynman can explain these complex ideas so clearly.
Oh, yeah.
He even uses humor sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He's not afraid to tackle those really big questions.
Right, like the meaning of life and all that.
Yeah, but he always brings it back to these relatable stories and examples.
Yeah, he was a great storyteller.
Like, remember when he talks about those unscientific people trying to explain the value of science?
Oh, yeah, he wasn't too impressed with their efforts.
He was saying that artists and poets and musicians haven't really captured the awe of scientific discoveries.
Yeah, he seemed a little frustrated by that.
Like he wanted them to do a better job.
Right, like he was saying, hey, I can explain the science, but you gotta help me show people how amazing it is.
And it makes you wonder if we've made any progress since then.
Good question.
Are there new ways that we're trying to express the wonder of science?
Through art or music or film?
I think that's what Feynman was getting at.
What do you mean?
Science is so deeply connected to the human experience.
It is.
And finding ways to express that connection, to share that wonder.
Yeah.
It's so important for creating a society that really values and supports science.
I agree.
So it all comes back to education.
Yeah, he was a big believer in education.
He said that a scientifically literate society is essential for navigating the complexities of the modern world.
He really thought everyone should have a basic understanding of science.
And he goes beyond just advocating for science education in schools.
Right, he talks about developing a scientific mindset.
Yeah, like a scientific spirit.
That can be applied to everything.
He emphasizes critical thinking skills.
Being able to question what you're told.
To evaluate evidence.
And to come to your own conclusions.
Based on reason and logic.
Yeah, not just believing things blindly.
Which is so important these days.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with all the misinformation out there.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, on the internet, social media.
So we need to be able to think critically to discern what's true and what's not.
That's where Feynman's ideas are so relevant.
They really are.
He was ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
He was talking about things back then that are even more important today.
Like the importance of skepticism.
Yeah. questioning everything.
Even our own beliefs.
But not in a cynical way.
Right, with a sense of curiosity.
And a desire to really understand.
And that goes back to the freedom to doubt.
Yeah, that's what drives scientific progress.
And helps us make better decisions in all aspects of our lives.
It's about engaging with the world in a thoughtful and critical way.
And that's something we can all do.
Whether we're scientists or not.
Right, we can all benefit from cultivating that scientific spirit.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Feynman's The Value of Science,
yeah,
I think we can all agree that his ideas were still very relevant today.
Oh, absolutely.
He reminds us that science is more than just facts and figures.
It's a way of thinking.
A way of approaching the world with wonder and skepticism.
And a sense of responsibility.
He challenges us to embrace that scientific spirit in all aspects of our lives.
To never stop learning.
To question everything.
And to use our knowledge wisely for the benefit of humanity.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
And one that I think we can all take to heart.
I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we hope you'll continue to explore the wonders of science.
And the power of critical thinking.
In your own lives.